Hey guys, I hope you're doing great. I'm doing fine, and this video will be about EIA draft 2020 and why I disagree with it and why I want the government to withdraw the EIA 2020 draft. Yeah, that will be about, and this is the draft. Draft issued by the government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and I'll be talking about why I disagree at certain points. There are many points I disagree, but in this video I narrow down to 8 to 9 points and about this EA draft disagreement. And this environment impact assessment, EIA, it is a legal process that effectively grant permission for the coal mines, industries and other projects to access to land, water and forest areas. And this draft has been in India since 1994. And during this global pandemic on March 12, 2020, the Environment Ministry put out the draft proposal to amend the EIA norms. The last date for the public consultation, for the public opinion, was until June 30th, 2020, but now the date has been extended till 11th of August 2020. So before 11th of August until 11th of August 2020, public can give in their opinions. And how do I know about this draft? Like, until last week I had no idea about this EIA, what it is about, or even about this EIA draft, and all the environmentalists, students protesting against this. I had no clue about this. A friend of mine, he sent me a text in WhatsApp saying that, hey, then check this out, man, you should read and send in your suggestions to the government. I was like, hey, what is it? Okay, let me look into it. Then it kind of opened a lot of new things for me. Like, I got to know so many things which I was not aware of or was not focusing on. So thanks to my friend, through him I got to know about this. And also there's been a video from Tamil Nadu, a woman. She posted a video creating awareness about this EA draft and why people should know and why people should send in their response. And after a while, due to high pressure, the woman has been pressured so that she has to remove the video itself, which she created for awareness. And another interesting fact which I found relating while reading about the EA that was there were 3 websites in India which was being banned by the government, like Fridays for Future, Let India Breathe, and There Is No Planet B. And especially this Fridays for Future, it's the initiative started by Greta Thunberg from Sweden, and supportive of that movement has spread in India, Fridays for Future in India, and for each state, students and youngsters are taking up the movement and they're protesting against the issues concerning environmental factors. So according to this draft, it was supposed to be the people who were supposed to send in the opinions regarding whether they are opposing or agreeing with or any improvements. So these youngsters they sent in a mail to the government sending their oppositions or suggestions. And how did the government respond? They blocked the sites, and also they made a complaint, which is I have this complaint by the cyber crime unit which has been said that the site has to be blocked, and they've been filed a case under section 18 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which I can read. Like, this act is being put upon anyone whoever conspires or attempts to commit or advocate, abets or knowingly initiates the commission of a terrorist act or any kind of preparatory to commission of a terrorist act, and they will be punishable, shall not be less than 5 years of imprisonment, and shall also be liable to fine. Like, people who are opposing against environmental issues and youngsters, and this is what they got from the government, is kind of scary too. Yeah, that's a bit scary. And yeah, the case has been withdrawn, and also the site is back online. Yes, you can go and check it out. Fridays for Future, Let India Breathe, There Is No Planet B. And why I also object this draft 2020, and I want the government to withdraw this draft. So before I go into that, there are several other things which I found interesting, like recently the government of India initiated auction for 41 coal mines around India. For example, 3 in Maharashtra, 9 in Jharkhand, 8 in Odisha, 10 in Chhattisgarh, and 11 in Madhya Pradesh. And also during this pandemic time, the Environment Ministry has been expert panel is considering 145 projects under video conference whether to approve or not. For example, I have some list here, like diamond mines in Panna, Madhya Pradesh for producing 100,000 carats of diamonds, uranium mining in a tiger reserve in Telangana, 2,400 megawatt coal power plant at Talabira, Odisha, where Adivasis, the tribal people who are opposing the expansion of these coal mines. These are few of the 145 projects which are being considered by the environmental panel through video conferencing, and the time allotted for these discussions are merely 10 minutes or so. That's what the news are coming from. And this public opinion, what's this public opinion? Who can give public opinion? Like anyone who is a citizen of India has been asked to give in their opinion. It doesn't matter what kind of profession or what gender, anything. It's if you're a citizen of India, you have the right to give in your opinion. And the first thing, before even I go into the points of the draft, I disagree with the draft concept itself. It's been only released to the public in 2 languages, or provided in 2 languages, English and Hindi. But India is a country where it's formed by a group of different nations, like different kind of people live here and they speak so many languages. Okay, they may say like there are so many languages, it can't be given in each and every language, which I suppose should be provided if the project is going to take part in certain kind of place. And in this draft, as per the Article 3441 and 351 of the Indian Constitution, the 8th schedule indicates the recognition of the following 22 languages. I didn't know this, so few of these languages in the list. But I'm going to say the 22 languages which I found very interesting to know, like through this draft. The good thing was, I got to know that there are 22 constitutional languages which I didn't knew earlier. Number 1, I go on the order: Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Maithili, Nepali, Oriya, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, and Santali. These are the 22 languages, and I wish they have provided this draft in all these 22 languages at least. Regarding this issue, the Karnataka and Delhi High Court has notified the government to publish the draft in local languages, but still they haven't received any draft in, for example, I speak Tamil, so there is no draft in Tamil yet, but the date is only until 11th of August, so I don't know how this government is going to do it. And this environmental impact assessment will be assessed by a committee. They are called the Expert Appraisal Committee. It is constituted, formed by the ministry to approve projects, refer to it, and make appropriate recommendations on the projects to make sure the environmental impacts are not high. And number 2, what I agree, disagree, is like they divided industries into 3 categories, like several group of industries and sectors come under category A, category B1, and category B2. For example, if you go in category A, nuclear power plants, coal greater than 500 megawatts, natural gas, petroleum refinery. And if you go to category B2, that's where the very interesting part comes in, because in B2 there is no need of public consultation. If any project comes under B2, and you don't have to consult the people living in the area, like this project is coming here, what is your opinion about it? You don't have to consult the public. They can just do with the committee and the authorities and start the project. And one major thing in this category B2 was building construction less than or equal to 1,50,000 square meters requires no public consultation. 1,50,000 square meters, I cannot picture it in my mind, so I just tried googling it. It looks like it's almost the size of 28 football fields. That's massive, like 28 football fields, like, oh man, that's a really massive size kind of project of construction. I don't know what they can be like, size of almost like an airport. So that kind of project doesn't need public consultation, which I disagree with. I feel this big project should be consulted with the public before starting of it. And number 3, the expert appraisal committee, like I said earlier, formed by the central, and now for the state, they have the state level environment impact assessment authority. Yeah, they have this draft has a lot of authorities, committee words. So yeah, you have to be, it's a bit tricky first to understand and to just remember the names. Okay, let's this state level environment authority. How it will be formed? It's a state, and state, they can refer the members for this community to the central government, but the state can't employ them or form the committee. They can just only suggest the names, and the central will look at these names and they will decide, okay, we will agree with this person you sent, and we will, this is the committee, you get it. And this has to be done within 45 days. If the state, even if the state is sending a name on the day 1 and the central authority says, no, we don't agree with these people, we don't think there's a good fit, send in new names. Okay, they're sending another set of names on day 20th, then again the central is saying, no, we don't agree with these new suggestions again. This process can only go until 45 days. If the state couldn't send in the qualified or the member's name within 45 days, the central can form this committee by themselves without referring to the state. So the state will have no power in deciding this state level authority itself, which I disagree with. The state should sit as the equal power as the central, and the state should be given the equal authority to form their committee, or they should work together and form a committee, not just central only having the complete authority to form the state level committee. So that I disagree with. Number 4 is the national defense and security by central government. So like, if any project comes under national defense or security, there won't be public consultation, or there won't be any information available to the public. We cannot go and ask, hey, what's going on here, we need the right of information, it will maybe be provided. Okay, with the safety, security, then okay, either I disagree or agree, I cannot do anything in this matter. But there comes another important factor called strategy consideration. What is strategy consideration? There's been no clear definition in this draft, and they didn't mention what strategy consideration is. If a project declared a strategy consideration, there won't be any public consultation, and there will be no information available to the public. For example, if you take in Tamil Nadu, there is this project Chennai Salem Express Highway, which is going to pass through 159 villages of these 5 districts like Kanchipuram, Tiruvannamalai, Krishnagiri, Dharmaburi and Salem. And earlier, when the government announced the system, there have been huge protests going on, and on April 8, 2019, by the order of the Madras High Court, they ordered that the prior environmental clearance is mandatory for this project. So you have to conduct environmental clearance, is mandatory, and you have to talk with the public consultation as necessary. Now, the National Highway Authority recently went to the Supreme Court and said this 10,000 crore project is of national importance and does not require environmental clearance prior to the project. So now it might come under strategic project. So therefore no public consultation will be involved, and there won't be any environmental clearance in it. They can just right away start the project, which is not a good thing. Like, this strategic consideration is very scary again. Like, they can just turn around any project into strategic and just start right away without consulting the public or doing any environment assessment. And number 5, projects of new or expansion more than 50%. Like, if you have already a project and you want to extend it up to 50%, not more than, only up to 50%, you don't have to take any public consultation. Like, you can just start it. Example of these this kind of effect. For example, again in Tamil Nadu, there was a sterilite process in Thoothukudi on May 28, 2018. The people are protesting regarding the expansion of this sterilite plant, where 13 civilians were shot by the police and hundreds were injured. And why the protest? This protest was raised because when the sterilite industry announced that they are going to expand their capacity by double. So, for example, if they're going to from 100%, they want to expand their capacity to 200 or 100. A company can just rise 50% this year and 50% next year. So in the end of second year, they'll have 100% rise. So they'll be double the capacity. So in that case, so 50 this year and 50 next year. So they don't have to go for public consultation. They can just do it just by talking with the authorities, which is a dangerous thing. Like, you should have the public consultation. The people who are living around the area should be considered, are taken into account. And another incident, the Oil India incident in Assam recently. Oil India, they skipped the public hearing before expanding drilling in Assam's Baghjan, which resulted in endangering the biodiversity adjoining Dibru Saikhowa National Park, and 2 oil employees were lost their lives in the fire. So which again I disagree. The government there should be public consultation if there is going to be an expansion in the project, like expansion of 20% or 30%. There should be a public consultation, not more than 50. And this public consultation, again, public consultation is where again people has to given the opportunity to raise their voice or given their opinions. Again, as I said earlier, here the industry will be divided into 3 categories: category A, B1 and B2. This B2, all projects coming under B2 requires no public consultation, which I disagree with. Example, the construction site like 1,50,000 square meter, which will come under this B2 category and require no public consultation at all. And then border area projects. Here the border area project, according to the draft definition, means areas falling within 100 kilometers aerial distance from the line of actual control with bordering countries of India. Like, with the bordering countries of India to India, 100 kilometers aerial distance. And aerial distance is different from the normal kilometer distance, like how you go from the road transfer from this toll to the other toll. And by aerial, it's the flight distance, which is a bit higher when compared to the normal 100 kilometer road distance. And if this comes into act, there will be no public consultation. And for example, the northeast region, the whole of northeast will be affected. Northeast is such a beautiful and amazing placement, and this will be completely affected, and it holds the India's richest biodiversity. And the northeast will be affected, and the western side it will be affected. In the south, the countries which have the close border control with other countries, they will be affected. So there won't be any public consultation if it comes under border area of 100 kilometers aerial distance, which I disagree. Now again, if there's going to be oil and gas transportation pipeline through a national park, sanctuary or coral reef, or ecological sensitive area. I could understand what this ecological sensitive area is. I feel they should give more definition or detail about it. So if you're going to put oil or gas transportation pipeline through a national park or sanctuary, there is no need to have any public consultation, which again is not a really good thing. If you're going to do some pipeline through a sanctuary or a national park, again you're going to deplete the forest, you're going to affect the economical balance, a lot of plants, animals and birds' lives going to be disturbed. Okay, now comes the validity of the clearance. They are given validity period of certain years to several projects. For example, for mining, you will get 50 years of validity when you get the clearance. You can hold this validity for 50 years, which is a very long time. Earlier it was 30 years, now it's 50 years. It should be reduced. Like, you can't just get 50 years of validity and just maybe you just not even start the project, you just put it on hold for a while, and then you can start after 20 years with the same environmental validity you got like 10 years before. And also in the other nuclear projects, nuclear fuels and processing, they'll get 15 years of validity. Because why this validity is a bit scary is that once you get the validity, you can construct, you can put fence, you can level the ground. Because once you level the ground, obviously you're going to deplete the environment. You're going to put concrete on the land, which will affect the environment. And if they're saying you can put fences around it, it's not a problem. Once you put a fence, you're going to block the movement of the animals from one side to another side, and or even the people. And already you're going to grab the land which might have been used for farming. Now you're just putting a fence and putting a compound and taking the land where at least agriculture would have been happened. Now you're stopping that. And the compliance, so you have to follow certain compliances regulated by the environmental law in your company or organization or a sector. So earlier this compliance report by the project or the project proponent, they call it here, any factory has to be submitted twice in a year, like every 6 months you should submit the compliance report. There have been a lot of environmentalists been suggesting or appealing in the courts that it should be reduced even further, like 3 months. Once, like 3 months period, you should report the compliance report in a year, or even less, or even once in a month you just upload your compliance report in your site data. But now they made it to once a year, yearly once you can submit the compliance report. And this is kind of dangerous because recent gas leak accident in Visakhapatnam on May 7, 2020 killed 11 people, and these people lacked environmental clearance but still operated. So which lacked environmental clearance, therefore they haven't even submitted the compliance report, and it's been going on for a while, and this ended up in this tragedy where 11 people were killed. So if you're going to make the compliance for 1 year, I feel it's not going to be helpful. You should make it once a month or once in 2 months, so that you just completely, we can check the data, okay, what's going on. If there is a sudden change, we can analyze, okay, there's been a sudden change in the environmental level, we can quickly focus on the issue and solve it. If it's going to be a year, the change would have been happened gradually, and by the end of the year it would be huge, and to go back and recover it is going to be a very hard process, and it might end up like this kind of disaster accidents. And if you fail to submit the compliance report, yearly once report, you'll be just fine. The government is going to fine you. Like if you're in a category B2, you'll be fined 500 rupees per day. If you're B1, you'll be fined 1000 rupees per day. And if you're in the category A, you'll be fined 2500 rupees per day. That's it. Like that's for a huge, like for a coal mine kind of project, huge. For the projects like coal mines, and the profits they make, fining them for not submitting the compliance report, 2500 per day, it's not a huge amount, and it's not in a way will solve the environmental issues being caused. And you can do this for 3 years. After 3 years only, your clearance might be revoked, will be revoked. So you can just do for 2 years, and the third year pay the fine, and again don't pay for 2 years and then pay the fine. You can just keep going on like that, which I disagree with. And now dealing with non-compliances. If you're not following the regulations or rules of the environmental guidelines and already started a project without following those rules and norms, now what happens? Either you can do a suo moto, like I started a project without following environmental norms and guidances. I just go to the authority by myself and telling them, hey, I just didn't follow the norms and rules, so what can I do? Then the authority, they will invite me into the committee where I can present what all I have done and what are the things I have violated, either by person or I can do this in video conferencing, and then they will recommend some conditions what I can do to compensate the damage what I have caused to the environment already, which it doesn't make sense. Like I feel it's not right, like where you just do everything wrong and then later you go and apologize that you did something wrong, and then the government will form certain plan and setup where you can make things right, because its environment it's already been depleted and you've been violating for a long time, and now suddenly you just go and say, and if this is only if I want to go to the authority and say it by myself, I've been violating. If I don't want, I can just keep on going as long as I want until if some authority finds it out, but not the public. Public can't do it because there's been no option given for public to give their raise their voice on this kind of issue, which I will come to the case where dealing of violation cases. So this is regarding non-compliance. Now let's go to dealing of violation cases. So if somebody violated the environmental laws and guidelines, what happens? Like, who handles these issues? They given a list of people or authorities who can act on this. One is regulatory committee, appraisal committee, government authority. All these are formed by the central government and regulated by the government officials. And then fourth one is suo motu, again self, the project, the industrial person, they themselves will go to the government and they report that we have violated the rules. But then there is another important factor missing in this dealing of violation cases, where there will be only 4 options given. The fifth major and the most important option, the public, it's not even, they didn't mention anywhere there in this dealing of violation. They could have just added a 5th point and put public. It would have been really nice, but they didn't do that. Like, so either public can't raise their voice, or even if they have to rise, they just have to go to this authority, and then it's clearly not mentioned how a public can raise their voice, which I completely disagree with this dealing a violation. They should have added public's voice, which is the most important thing. They are the ones who is going to be affected. So that is a very important thing. And if again by suo motu application, by self, like I myself going and surrendering to the government that I violated, what happens then? So the government, according to the category B1, B2A, so if I'm from category A, I'll be fined 5,000 per day, and if I'm category B1, I'll be fined 2,000 per day, and B2, I'll be fined 1,000 per day. Like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 per day. It's a very less amount, like very, it's a small drop in the ocean level of profit they're going to make. And if not by suo motu, if the government authority, the appraisal committee, or the regulatory committee, they found out that this company or project has been violating the guidelines, then what happens? Then they will also fine a certain amount. It will be category B goes where in B2 you'll be fined 2,000 per day, and B1 4,000 per day, and in A 10,000 per day. Again, you'll be fined. You just have to pay the fine, and then they will make a remedy plan, like environment management plan, to make sure how you can readjust the violate things you did all these years, which is a very complicated thing. Like, I don't know how this is gonna. You should make sure the public should also raise the voice and make some more stringent laws to the companies who are violating these environmental laws and guidelines. So again, I disagree with this violation section, which they completely should scrap off or make major changes to this. Now comes to another important and interesting factor, public hearing. So as far as you've seen, in so many places where the public hearing is being not allowed itself, like where example in category B2 we have no public consultation at all, and they have included a section where public hearing like where it should be conducted with widest possible participation, not the wild, sorry. Now let's come to the last part. It's called a public hearing and procedure for public hearing consultation. So public hearing is mainly considered in the place where any project comes into account, where you have a group of government officials, ministers, and from the members from the committee on the one side, and the other side the people who are directly related to the area or the surrounding which going to be affected by this project. So that's a public hearing where the people can give in their opposition or suggestions against this project. So, and this Appendix 1 procedure for consultation mentions how a public hearing has to be conducted and what goes on in this process. As you've seen in this entire draft so far, several projects requires no public consultation at all. Like the entire category of projects comes under B2, and then defense, strategic, and several other factors. And there is a whole column where exemption of environmental clearance. It's a 40 different industries which completely exempt the environmental clearance. And this public hearing, where it mentioned that ensure that widest possible public participation. And when a company is going to organize a public hearing, they will advertise in one major daily and one regional vernacular daily, just one newspaper in national and one regional. So if in case if you don't receive that, get subscribed to the newspaper, you will miss noticing that there's going to be a public hearing. And if you don't have that kind of newspaper available, newspaper facilities are not available in your location, there will be 3 ways where it will be notified. Either by playing drums around your local area, like there's a person who come playing drums saying that okay, there's going to be a public hearing, and either by radio or by television. That's the way where they'll advertise or they give the notice to the public that there's going to be a public hearing. And another thing they mentioned is there will be no quorum required for attendance for starting the proceedings. No quorum in the sense they didn't mention the minimum number of persons required from the assembly, like what's the minimum number of group that should be present for this proceeding. Maybe they can just do it with one person and conduct the public hearing, or they want 500 people or 5,000. They didn't clearly mention what's the minimum number of people they require. Yeah, maybe someplace the population is very less, but then there according you should make some kind of standard, like okay, this is the level of group of people. You should make a formula like okay, if it's 100 people, there should be 80 people present or 50 people present. If it is 2,000, and according to that you should set an order. That's missing here, which I feel they should add it. And public will be given only 20 days to finish their response. Again, this draft itself is they'll be given in your local language and stuff, and the draft is going to be massive, like 300, 500, even 1,000 pages, and people has to read it and analyze it and have to make their response within 20 days. Earlier it was more than 20 days, but now it's just 20 days is not good enough time. They should have months, like 2-3 months. 20 days is just 2 weeks. In 2 weeks you just have to send in your response for the massive projects going to come to your place, which I feel the government should provide more number of days. And also this public hearing only have the locally affected persons present in the setting, not the people from, for example, if a public hearing is taking place in Tamil Nadu, someone from Kashmir who thinks that this issue is going to affect a lot in that local area in Chennai, he cannot raise his voice. Or even in Tamil Nadu, it's just the locally affected people can raise their voice or give their opinions, not the one from other state district, if this project is not connected to them. And if the authorities feel the public consultation in a certain case cannot be conducted in a free manner, then they can even cancel the public hearing. They can just say here the feasibility of conducting a public hearing is not possible, and so we are not going to conduct public hearing, so there won't be any opportunities given for the public to express their opinion. That again is not very public friendly, or that I disagree with. So these are my points. There are a few from the draft. There are more other things I disagree with, but these are the major things I disagree with, and that's why I want the government to withdraw the EIA 2020 and even scrap the EIA 2020.